Welcome back to the class, everyone. We are currently in our second match for this GAC week. We weren't able to do our first one. Well, actually, we were able to do it, and we lost terrifically against Mino Taro. The reason why we don't have a recording of that on YouTube is because I messed something up in the actual recording, but he pretty much one-shot our board, and we really struggled. I'll pretty much, concluding it really quickly, we struggled just a lot with our normal counters because the combination of relics, mods, and datacrons all being superior on his part just made it really hard. He played really well too. He knows his counters. You don't get into the top 100, 200 by not. That being said, our opponent today is going to be Nordy, and Nordy does also just have a pretty stacked roster, as you can see here. Very similar to our last opponent. He does have 858 relic levels on us. He has just way more of everything in general. Actually, looks like we've been beaten plus 25s. But he has 20 or 200 more plus 15s than us, and he also has 8 more GAC Omicrons as well. There's no way he doesn't just have both Jabba and Afra, so that's also just another material advantage he's got going. Looking at the actual board, it doesn't scare me as much as our previous opponents does, but he has still just like really good datacrons here, and you can see on most of these just an absurd amount of defense. Like he's got 100% armor on his gas team. I'm guessing this Jedi Anakin, I haven't looked yet, but I'm guessing it's just stupid fast or something like that. Yeah, 314 without a speed set. So that's going to be difficult to get around. And then he's got Ray Ben with the kind of scoundrel lineup, which actually is pretty good. And then we also, actually think it's really anti-Lord Vader is what it is. But we're not going to be doing it. And then we have to deal with Traya with Malgus again. So quite a bit to deal with, but let's go ahead and find out if everything works. All right, so starting off, we are going to try out our Inquisitorius versus their 501st team. One of the really rough things about this, and I should have probably, I was trying to figure out my budget counters here in the very beginning, but I should have really taken into account that they had like 200 extra % defense with their Datacron, so that is going to make this a very uphill battle, especially with 5s in there, and you'll see we did a very similar battle this while ago where I think they only had like 90% defense or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. We were able to pull it off. But part of the issue here is, you'll see it right here, as soon as we sit gas down, Rex gets his turn meter up, and literally we don't get a single Inquisitorius turn while he does that. So that, I mean, that really just sinks this entire thing, because you don't need to kill all the clones while he's down that one time, but preferably getting Rex down, or not getting Rex down, but getting 5s down, or at least getting 5s somewhat closer is ideal, and that just doesn't happen here. And now, by now, they've just ramped up a ridiculous really amount of offense because of Gas's leadership and getting buffs. So now they're starting to hit really hard, and there's, I guess I'm like, right now I get why I still continue, because we want to get, at least at a minimum, get 5s out. But without Second Sister's big hit queued up where she ignores partial leg defense, we weren't just going to kill anything. So from here, we knew that was no longer going to work. So we get out of that, and I'm probably going to use CLS there, but in the meantime, we go ahead and take our bounty hunters in versus this team. And we learned, kind of, from our last time that you can't use the AoE with, or the offense up with Bosk immediately, because Baze gets a bunch of turn meter and then just destroys your team. That being said, we tried to do the 2 mass assists to start off, and again, things just went very poorly. Our Mando took a turn earlier than it should have because of how it worked out. And then on top of that, we didn't have crit chance up, and they hard focused Mando when he died. If our relic levels would have been a little bit closer, like we have Mando at R1, and most of that team was R8, R9, that would help. Again, this is partially just a side effect of how far we've climbed, and that's, we just have to live with it. That being said, we've taken our CLS versus the gas team, and I've heard a few people say that at a certain point, CLS just stops working against gas, and I really don't know. They deal so much max health damage that I feel like gas can get a whole bunch of defense, either from being R9, like he is in this battle, or from a Datacron. But at the same time, the CLS seems to do just fine here. We even get our Nubak dazed or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. Chewbacca's still going strong, still getting everything up, and we end up losing like an extra banner here or something like that, because we don't do call to action at the very end or something like that. Or maybe not even. Oh yeah, we could have flopped there for probably another extra banner, but 50 banners overall. I'm very happy with CLS finally getting through that gas team, whereas our last team struggled quite a bit. So we're moving into our Bad Batch versus Qui-Gon Jinn. This one goes pretty well. So one of the nice things about this team is the Jedi Anakin was not modded for crit damage, nor was he very fast. So, actually, I think he was pretty fast for him to go first. Yeah, he was pretty fast, but he didn't have crit damage. He had offense. And really, any offense, I've said this before, any offense you add after modding to the Qui-Gon Jinn team, it's just a drop in the bucket. You're really not going to get much of anywhere. Unfortunately, though, the offense from Jedi Anakin, or from Qui-Gon dying, was definitely enough. And then we get into this situation where we actually do kill most of the team, but Jedi Anakin, Qui-Gon did survive. So if I could redo this, if I knew how things were going to go, I wouldn't have used Grand Inquisitor at all on gas, just taking the one shot, and I would use Grand Inquisitor on that Qui-Gon Jinn team, and then Bad Batch and Ad Rev. Like there's very first 3 battles, we were trying to kind of budget everything out, but at the same time, we were just doing counters that were very likely not going to work, at least with his relic levels and datacrons and whatnot. So we get in here versus this raid team. I don't have a lot of options, especially this specific raid team that is made to shake off debuffs. It's supposed to be one of the harder comps for both Star Killer and Lord Vader, albeit those are still possible to win there. But we take in JML. JML, I don't really feel that much of a difference. We treat this the same as we treat most JML versus raid battles, that being you kill the 3 sides, whoever they are, doesn't really matter. And then once they're down, you play the dance with Rey and Ben, where you have to strip everything off of both of them. One thing I will say that I think we misplayed here just a little bit is we were not stripping the Inspired off of Rey nearly as much as we should have been. And you'll notice one really scary thing has happened right now. Our Jolee has the healing immunity landed on him because Ben can not only apply 4-turn healing immunity to an opponent, but he can also ignore taunt to do it. So we're trying to call Jolee in here as much as possible. I know we can't heal him or give him protection or anything like that, but at the same time, he does get turn meter from being called in, and we can hopefully loop around the turns to the point where he actually can be healed. I keep trying to call in Giant Luke again to rip off the Inspired, so Rey isn't gaining as much mastery. Does get to throw, and this is where things start to get really scary. My Jolee has not wiped off the healing immunity. We have really no way to heal him, and Rey's about to get her ult and do just a lot of damage. So we just kind of pray that Jolee tanks it, and he just barely does. Just barely holds on against her. We make sure we get the revive, and now Jolee has finally wiped off the healing immunity. We got Ben soloed down. He's going to come back numerous times here just because, well, JML keeps taking turns. Until, and I like this, we figured out a better way to do this than we did last time. When we're trying to kill both of them, get Rey down to 1 health or 0 health or whatever, then kill Ben so you don't have to do the whole elaborate dance. So that one worked out pretty well for us. Definitely very satisfied with that. And then I was a little surprised that this does as well as it does, so I guess spoiler there. We took in our Jedi Revan team versus the Saturn team. Again, this team has very high relics on it, and we have I don't know, saw it in the very beginning, this is a Gear 12 Barris. So not only do we have a Gear 12 Barris that is that kind of rough, but on top of that, the team can't have a datacron because we have a Gear 12. So we just go all in on getting Adaret out in the very beginning. Luckily we do it, and Jinn is ability blocked, so she can't pass anything around, or she can't revive. And this is where having Grandmaster Yoda modded for damage really, I do think, came in handy. Just hitting so hard so many times, and then relying on the turn meter gains instead of speed. So Grandmaster did a lot for us here, especially being able to steal all those buffs, and then the Foresight helping from base to take everything away. So this team performed very well. And again, we're still kind of continuing with the theme here of we're two-shotting everything, but at the same time, the second one is killing everything. So definitely could do some better plays next time around. I think I need to try to avoid my normal counters that I consider budget and just kind of look for probably what's going to work. So we go ahead and take in this kind of leftover bounty hunter team to take out these two. Not that Fennec is leftover, but with the rest of my bounty hunter is gone, she's not doing a whole lot. So that went really well. We got to a Mon Mothma team in the back. Now this Mon Mothma team has, I think, about 100% health steal, and it might be 50% health steal, and then 90% defense or something like that. So I'm already looking at this like, oh, I think we probably just time out. There are 7 on everyone. That hasn't been that big of a deal before. I think we've beaten stronger, but I'm like, all right, this might just take a while. So instead of having the whole 5-minute battle here, I am just gonna flip around. We're going to be skipping here to the 3-minute mark now, just for you guys to see. We're not really making that much progress. I assume that our offense is increasing with Iden's lead and whatnot, but we're just not really getting any kills. Luckily, Kyle Katarn isn't doing anything super important at this time. They're having a hard issue getting a lot of kills on us, and I think there might have been a moment here where the big hit from Death was not going to be enough to kill Carr and prevent revives. So again, we just kind of get stuck in this huge loop, and then Storm actually tanks things pretty well, but they have a big hit here coming up where they kill our Snow, and now we just don't have enough offense period to get through this. I'm like, all right, we can try to maybe kill someone and then time out, but as you guys can see, it gets down to the minute mark, and we're just not making any progress on them. So we do end up forfeiting this, and we're gonna have to come in later to clean up with something else. Again, very similar thing to the other battles. We're two-shotting, but we're not making much progress in the first one. This battle is really fun. So I take in my troopers, and my troopers aren't super special, mind you. Like my Dark is only R5, my Gideon, most of this team is R3, and this enemy team, as you can see, it was a very high defense cron. It was a 200% armor cron on it, and I was like, all right, I don't really think that we have enough juice to be able to get through their R9 Royal Guard even with armor shred to start, but I have to try. Like I have nothing else that can do this, so let's go ahead and give it a whack. And we just get the right RNG, and Dark assists from the range thing pretty much every single time that he can, and we get the kill. And now, once Royal Guard's done, there's really nothing they can do. I mean, maybe Lord Vader might survive long enough, especially because we don't have armor shred on him like we had armor shred on Royal Guard. But we now have 34 stacks of our buff. We're going to go in Daze Maul just so he doesn't counter. That's really not that important. I'm more concerned about actually being able to get Lord Vader down. Just keep going in. We get the right assist from Piet that gives us a bunch of turn meter. We actually don't use the middle ability here with Piet just because I want more turn meter, and Dark assisting twice is more turn meter. We finally get the armor shred toppled with the mass assist, and Dark just punches him out. So yeah, there are ways to stop this counter. We've been doing it a lot. We've been putting Vader with our Lord Vader that goes first because the 100% turn meter. But yeah, 200% defense, and Candy Cron isn't going to do it. So we go ahead and take in our Jedi Anakin in here, rather our Qui-Gon Jinn team, and they do pretty decent. Unfortunately, with both Set and Malak being R9, his AoE wasn't enough to just clean the team right in the beginning. So now, but that team that's pretty easily clean upable now. They don't have Darth Revan, they don't have Savage in there. So we take our SLKR versus this Jabba team. Really doesn't worry me all that much. Actually, I do think they had the really good Hux Cartel level 9. The Hux Cron just combats this so stinking well. I know I've talked about it a lot, but the fact that they can't gain turn meter, which that isn't really part of the Hux Cron, but the fact that they can't use the Retribution when we have Dominance, so we get to use all these AoEs and also counter them for just super high hits, and yeah, we just make a bunch of progress on them, whereas they don't make a bunch of progress on us. We get to kill their Boosh pretty quickly, and without Embo on the team, they no longer have enough offense to kill my SLKR. So I don't know how well banner-wise we're going to be doing here, but this is going to just be a pretty easy fight. They're just going to die. So keep giving turns back to SLKR. This is kind of a button mash. I think the only thing that really required a little bit of us to pay attention to was sometimes Hux doesn't have dominance, and at those points you don't want to do AoEs because you just kind of kill yourself. But yeah, so it's kind of funny, once we have enough offense to actually kill Kersantin and Gamorrean Guard, the Jabba is essentially 2 hits away. It actually kind of reminds me of Sith Raid, rest in peace, except not really. I want it gone. Once you have enough offense built to kill both Nihilus and Scion in tier 3 or tier 4 of the Sith Raid, then Trey just falls over, and Jabba's very much the same way. So now we're having to kill Malgus. We've seen the back wall. We know they don't have an extra Geo in there, and instead of like playing around with Malgus, Treya for Omicron team or whatever, I'm like, all right, we have the luxury to see it. Let's go ahead and do that. We even have the luxury to see Watt, and I'm kind of glad we did. I know that C can win here on his own, but especially with Isolate and the relic levels that these guys have, I feel it's probably just safer that we do this. So, also I guess they only have two form of ability blocks actually, because Malgus himself can ability block. But we go ahead and link up Malgus and Treya just because I figured they're probably going to be the ones doing the most damage. We get our ult, and then we zap them into the next life. Nihilus with his big hit, not quite big enough. And then once the two of them are dead, I mean, this this is pretty much cakewalk, I guess. We go ahead and link the only two we can, because Talon is currently hiding. And then I guess, I mean, probably just press auto from here. There's not much they can do. I guess it's probably ideal not to kill Scion through normal means, because the zap will perma-kill him. But I don't think we really had enough offense to even make that happen. So everyone gets zapped, and we get a pretty good banner hold on that one. So now we have to take down the Sortie team. And this one is also just a little bit pain in the butt. This team has the IPD Cron, which means once IPD is gone, they're going to start to deal significant damage. Now, we did misplay this, by the way, in the very beginning. We used Wampa's Cleanse very early on when we didn't have Tenacity down, and that's really a waste, because now they get to land Ability Block, they get to land Stun, they get to land Daze, they get to land all these debuffs on us, and we have no way to cleanse, albeit Ability Block wasn't going to do anything. And now, I think one of them might be IPD. When they get Target Lock, that functions as buff immunity. So now, my Protection Up Cron, where we were getting just huge stacks of Protection Up, is now gone, because they had that. So we learned our lesson. We don't go for the cleanse when we don't need it. We just keep using basic and otherwise. Now they do have a huge amount of offense boost from IPD being gone. So we go ahead and use the AoE so we just don't die. We kind of really need it at that point. And finally get BB-8 out. And probably from here, we probably could have just autoed. And I think we might have actually done that. And that's really where the risk is here now, is timeout. You can see they're really, we don't get down to just Sortie until about 3 minutes into the battle. It's going to take a minute before we get through. Luckily, she has, like, no defense or anything like that. But that being said, she's very, very tanky, and it's going to take a minute to get her down. So, again, full auto here. Wampa will roar. Wampa will eventually start hitting really hard, but you'll notice we skip forward ahead in time, and we're now hitting her for about 180k on basic, and it's still not enough. What ended up happening is we took too much time to be able to get it down to just her. If we would have gotten it down to her in just a minute, that would have eventually pulled through, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. So now, we have to use Grievous to clean up that Mothma team that Iden very sadly failed against. And this is tricky. Again, with the Datacron they have, having the amount of defense and health steal it does, if they start to make a lot of headway, this is going to get very ugly very fast. So, luckily they get stuck behind Magna Guard for a good portion of time. Definitely what we want. We go ahead and steal some max health from Kara. Trying to play the target lock game here, hitting all the characters that have it, ignoring all the ones that don't with B1. Go ahead and kill their whatchamacallit, try to get Kyle Katarn back as much as we can. Keep, again, go aiming for different characters when we want the target lock to get there. Trying just to kind of get anyone down so that we can essentially gang up on them before Mon Mothma starts reviving. Although we do run into an issue here. This is a really big issue, actually. B1 was out in the open for a second, and with that they were able to kill him. They can kill B1 super quickly, and that just did not do well for us at all. So Kyle Katarn got really close, and luckily B2 is still there to generate quite a bit of turn meter. We go ahead and we're trying to budget our damage here a little bit, but this is very risky. We get Hoth Rebel Soldier down, or Rebel Scout down, and then Kara, we got hit with that, and then just barely killed them in the end. Like, that was going to be very close if they were able to get a turn and recover. So we took them down, and now, this is just kind of all we had left. And by the way, if you're going to place Bam, Dadbod, Boba team down in GAC, place Bam lead. You'll see here that I'm very much button mashing with Rogue One. If you have any suggestions for what we can do better, please do tell, because I don't use this team very often on offense, and when I do, this is what it looks like. So we kind of just go in. Bam is my first target. He's just kind of most important because of how much he's going to give everyone. Damage me, I would rather not deal with that. He does get to 20 birds, and this honestly does scare me a little bit when he gets 20 birds, but I'm guessing he must aim at the wrong character. I don't even know what happened there, why we took so much reduced damage, actually. Maybe he was aiming for K2 or something. Anyways, we're going in here pretty strong, and what I was saying earlier about Bam lead is just so much better in GAC because Dadbod Boba's lead does like only 2 things, and both those 2 things are conditional. So really can't recommend it, even if you are going to use him. We do get to our ultimate ability, which is very nice, especially versus Embo, who has the Embocron, and basically the Embocron means you have like all your health goes to protection, and then once that happens, you lose your protection, you just kind of fall over. So, of course, the AI is super stupid, and they go completely after my Jhin when she can't be killed, which is really why this team is just so good on offense. and then we're able to kill Bam, and very lastly get rid of their dad bod Boba here. Not the best banners, but still, I'll take it, especially especially considering I was button mashing. So, final battle, we are just going to go ahead and take Gas versus this Malak team, which is a little rough in hindsight because I'm pretty sure that Gas probably just would have one-shot this. We were trying to budget our teams out, making sure we had everything right, but, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what we had, so definitely focus all the big hits over there on Malgus, not Malgus, Malak trying to reduce his max health so we can get down to the very end. Oh, we still have to clean up Swordy with Geos, which this battle honestly makes a lot of sense other than the fact that Swordy almost wiped my whole team right in the very beginning. They just got a lot of turn meter there. But basically, we just try to make this battle last a little bit longer than possible. I'm not sure if this is working as intended, but Spy actually, his hits do more the longer the battle goes on, because every single time he gets stealth, again, I don't know if this is working as intended, the game is counting that as an extra buff, and eventually he will just hit super hard. Also, I think this would probably work even without that, though, just because you constantly keep dispelling everything on Swordy. So, with all of our mistakes, with everything that happened, we did manage to pull out the win. I don't say barely, because our opponent did fail on a number of teams. Again, I've kind of talked about places we could have done better, and for anyone who's wondering how ships went, they were the same ones we always do. We didn't fail at all. It was just Profundity versus Executor, Empire versus Negotiator, nothing special. So yeah, they failed once on Lord Vader. I think that team is yet to be one-shot. Traya and Phasma both held. I don't know if he was legitimately out of teams, or if it just came to the point where it was too much work for him to actually full clear. Failed on JMK there once, albeit killed a couple of stuff, and then also failed on Ray. So, I mean, I'll take the win where I still want to climb as high as possible. We're already pretty much broke even for the season, and it's good because we're still really high up. So, thank you guys for watching, and as always, stay awesome.